Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish.
Hey guys, this is going to be a bonus episode of Generation Y. We were kind of just, Mark and I were just kind of bullshitting, and then we started getting into some interesting territory. I challenged the supremacy of the UK. We got into an argument. We screamed. No, I'm kidding. It was a good time, but we were just kind of talking about Americans' foreign policy and some of the stuff that we do all over the world, and we started asking some questions. That's why we're here. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were kind of talking a little bit about the Mujahideen. I can never say it right. The Mujahideen, I think, is the proper.
Mujahideen.
Yeah, the Mujahideen. Oh no, communists! I'll call them back. They're coming for me. Yeah, but like we're looking at the foreign policy of the United States, and we were talking about. I guess we've been nation building since the 70s. That's what we've been doing. That's been the foreign policy of the United States. You know, and what has that led to, and the effect that it's had around the world. So, I mean, we look at what we did in the Afghanistan-Russian conflict, where we came in, we supplied them with weapons, and this is where I think part of it's intentional. And this is where me and my friend, who I was talking with, still in the military, we disagreed, or not disagreed, are interpreting it differently, I think is the best way to put it. So the intention was to fend off the Russians. We gave them Stinger missiles and Javelin missiles to take down their helicopters. And the Russians, this led to the economic collapse of the Soviet Russia, which led to what we have today, the modern day Russia. They just couldn't have economically sustain because they were taking out all their helicopters. They couldn't do it. So what we did is then all of a sudden we basically wouldn't leave. Culturally, we were involved in their culture, their economics, their policies for decades. We never really left, and the people didn't like us anymore, and that's why they attacked us, right? This is what basically I think what the United States is doing is manufacturing generational enemies. So they're creating dissent in these people and uprooting their cultures and their civilizations, and the only people they can point at is us, so we can always have an enemy to fight. That's like part of I think that is intentional in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to look that way, I guess. I mean, it's always difficult to sort of talk bad about it because, you know, like people definitely would rather have the Americans running the show than not. But then I suppose if you're one of the million Iraqis that died in the Iraq War too, then they probably wouldn't feel the same. And I think it's a very, very difficult subject to broach because, you know, I have a friend that died. I had a friend that died in the Afghan war, or whatever we called it, you know. And you do feel like you're disrespecting those people. And I hope that those people understand that that's not where it's coming from, but if anything, it's the opposite. And I know sometimes people think that sounds rich, but, you know, if I could get my friend back, then I would. You know, if we had that opportunity to do that, depending on what the situation was at the time. I think the overall question is, because you have to look at it from America's point of view, or certainly Americans have to look at it from America's point of view. Can America be as secure, as wealthy, and arguably with this one as powerful, you know, or at least have an effect on the world, if it doesn't have its 850 or 830 foreign bases? Like if it's not, you know, if it's not in that position, can it still be? Will people's fuel prices be the same? Will people's lives still be the same? Because I guess a lot of people don't always think about that, you know, when they're saying bring our troops back, because that is something that a lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not, that's definitely, you know, an aspect that people that, you know, people are going to be pretty frustrated. They might not want to say it, but I think that they would be pretty perturbed if all of a sudden America dropped down to number 4 or 5 in the world rankings and the cost of living tripled and their income halved. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think most of the reason America is scattered into the world is so that they have their, their power in the world. So, we saw it with the UK. It was led by an American envoy, but it was a UK ship. In the Baltic, Crimea, obviously, Russia is trying to have that area for their own, and people just want to be able to get through, that part of the world. And if you don't have the power, you don't have the friends with the power, you can't always do that. So if America dragged itself back from everywhere, what effect would that have on Americans at home?
One, I agree with you. There'd be effect. There would be some sort of effect. I don't know what it would be. Well, that could be up to speculation, right? But what I can tell you is when you brought up your friend, it's a tragedy. He should have never been sent there in the fucking first place. My opinion. And I was in the military. I have friends who've died. I've known people who've committed suicide after they died, just as later. They aren't considered a casualty of war, but they are in my mind. Plenty of people like that.
Absolutely.
You don't blame the soldiers. You don't blame the people. But then again, we did it to the Nazis, right? We blamed the guards. We blamed the people that, they just arrested that guy in Germany a couple of years ago for being a Nazi guy, doctor. But he was in charge of taking all the stuff from the Jews. I mean, he was open about it. The only reason they arrested him is because he did a TV interview and people got mad.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And he was like talking about how sorry he was, it was awful. But like at the time, everybody grew up thinking it was the right thing to do. And we were educated and indoctrinated to think that. And it's like, I don't know what you want me to say anymore. I'm sorry. That's it. And people got mad at a Jewish woman for forgiving him, calling her a sellout and this and that. Like, listen, people do evil things. But it's not people do things evil, like an evil, how do I say this? An evil person that is an individual, usually a small scale, right? But an evil entity, an evil institution can do mass damage, mass casualty. You have to judge the institution. You have to judge it, and we have to judge it fairly. And you have to say, America's become a for-profit war company, in my opinion. And all these other countries that sit idly by while America attacks what they describe as terrorists. Because 9/11, whatever conspiracy theorists and all this other stuff, it doesn't matter. They say this happened because these people did something to us. We went into Iraq and killed civilians for it as retribution, as them. It's like cleansing. It's not okay. We should not have the authority to go knock on Iraq's door unless Iraq poses a direct and absolute threat to everybody. So what do? Because they knew they didn't have the legal justification. Robert Mueller, who actually did the investigation to the Russian investigation for Trump, lied to Congress about they had knowledge of WMDs.
Jesus, that was him.
Yes, same dude. Yeah, all the pieces fall together, don't they? They got their company men all over the place. They just work for the company, which is the military industrial complex, the deep state, the bureaucrats. Like it is what it is. And then what we can do, like we can move our American corporations and go over there and proliferate these resources and strip them of their human rights and just say they don't exist and say, no, you're a terrorist. But we get to define that. That's wrong. Human beings shouldn't be able to look, and a government should not be able to look at a group of people and be like, you don't deserve to exist anymore. That's not our right. But, in America, we have domestic issues. But I don't think we should go around and shoot everybody that's a white supremacist or shoot everybody that's a black supremacist. I don't believe we should throw everybody in jail for their beliefs. Now, if they want to be violent in this country, in our borders, or it would be like this. If a domestic terror group from America, they cross the border into Mexico and start killing everybody, and then Mexico attacks us for it. What the heck are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I guess people would. I think the Iraq thing was it was all really bizarre because, you know, from my understanding, 19 of the 20 attackers on 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia. Anyway,
18 of the 19.
18, right? Okay, 18 of the 19, and then oh yeah, because one of them forgot his passport or something that morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So,
So yeah, supposedly most of them were from Saudi Arabia.
trained in Pakistan.
Yeah, trained in Pakistan. They said that there were a lot of terrorist training camps in Afghanistan, and then it was sort of like now I'm sure I don't know enough about this to sort of go to be definite, but we basically said Iraq have weapons, like you said, Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. We sent in an inspector who was, well, there are a few inspectors. One of them was from the UK, who actually was found dead in the late 2000s. He was walking his dog, and then he was just found dead in a field.
Yeah.
There was a lot of media about it because he was in perfect health, and somebody said that there was somebody else seen talking to him, and it was just basically it was assumed that he was killed by some intelligence service. Could have been our own, it could have been some another one. And then we also have the fact that Saddam Hussein, at least on 2 occasions, was openly talking about accepting a form of currency other than the dollar.
The petrol dollar. Yeah.
Right,
They were
right.
talking about
So
change. Yeah.
he
And
talked
so
about
did
accepting the
Gaddafi too.
euro. Yeah, he
Gaddafi,
talked about accepting gold.
Assad, same thing.
Yeah, so it just seemed we kind of and this is, listen, I hold my hands up and say I was guilty of letting the kind of terror of, I mean, who'd ever seen something like that happen? Everybody remembers the day, and I think everybody just kind of thought
Are you talking about 9/11?
9/11. Yeah, I think everybody just thought, wow, that's horrendous. Everybody could kind of imagine what it felt like. And we just thought, and back then, like nowadays, I think everybody has so much more information that they probably can't really understand how somebody had so much trust in America. Like back then, the Western allies had, I would say, like 95% absolute trust in, if America said something was something, then
We were an
that was the
authoritative
way it
figure.
was.
It was
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now we have a lot more information, a lot more freedom of information.
For
And
now.
so it's much, yeah, for now. So it's much different now. But back then, America said that there was a problem. America said that we needed to do this and that. And so everybody just kind of got behind them and said, yeah, that was a terrible thing. And whatever we need to do, we'll do it. But you did see people questioning fairly early on the legitimacy of the whole thing.
And that's actually happened in the United States too. Once the Patriot Act got signed, because the liberals, the modern day whatever, not the non, but like the ones from the early 2000s were anti-war. They were like, what the heck are we doing? Like, you guys lied, blah, blah, blah. And this is really where the psyop of America began. And the psyop of America, when we started realizing that it was our financial institutions were corrupt, our government's corrupt. So what do? They devise, develop, and implement a plan to divide us. Not to conquer us, not to destroy America. I don't think they want to destroy America, but to take our eyes off the ball. So they use the media and everybody worked in conjunction to create divisive language and to constantly push race. And every time an African American is shot by a white police officer or a cop, period, it's the end of the world. It's happening too often. Thousands of African Americans are dying a year, when it's like every loss of life is tragic, but 15 to 20 unarmed people, and that doesn't mean they're still not a threat. So it's just, we lost the narrative. We almost had them. And then this is the thing, though. They keep kicking the can down the road, and now they have a way bigger problem to deal with. I think more people are awake now than ever because they let these radicals just tear through our systems. And it's just, and I'm talking like, these guys are working off a doctrine that is 50 years old. We're thinking for the future. We're not planning for today. That's how these people think. That's how the baby boomers think. They're planning for now. They're constantly like, we need more now. We need more now, more now. And I think the future, our generation is like, we're anti-war. We are about smaller government, less influence on our people. Don't trust the media. Raise your family, localized community stuff. And they're losing their power and they're freaking out. So they'll do anything to try to get it back. And they're going to, my greatest fear is this. Another war, another reason to take our eye off the ball, and they're running out of options, and they might need a real war, a big war, to really reunify America and how they see the world and how they think it should be. That's my fear. I think they wouldn't do that because they're not stupid people necessarily, but these people are getting desperate. They're getting desperate, and when you're desperate, you do really crazy stuff.
Why? Well, so first of all, I would say I agree, but I do wonder, like, how could you? I can't see how we could go to war and it not be basically the end of the world, because we've heard recently that China have said, because they do have some incredible weapons. I know a lot of people like to comfort themselves and pretend that they don't. But China don't just make budget things. They make a lot of budget things because that's what we want to buy. But they also make extremely high quality things. Sorry, go on.
I just want to input something. The Chinese did something, and they've done this for millennia. They have replicated systems, right? They always were replicating systems. They replicated communism because they saw the Russians do it. They've just been replicating. And then all of a sudden they were like, their system crashed because their economy was trash. So we need to introduce capitalism in some faction to make it work. But what they did, which was stupid smart to keep our military at bay, is, so you know how much an F-15 costs? It's like, or whatever, one of the
$60 million.
90 to 100. It's been getting cheaper. But so what they did is they said, we're not going to build aircraft. We're going to build radar, which is 1/10 the cost. 10% of the cost and we're going to build radar that can detect your stealth aircraft. And we're going to develop missiles that can be shot and ignore your stealth capabilities.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's how they protected themselves. So they outthought us because we were like, strength, brutality, blah. And they're like, we're going to put a fence up and you can't jump high. So screw you. Like that's basically what they did. And it was smart. So I don't really ever see China I don't think China wants to go to war. This is all posturing, in my opinion. And we're posturing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if anything did happen, you would have to kind of put it out almost immediately, because I think with how much information people have now, say China went to war with America, you would see, let's say that you had a few dogfights, there were a few ships went in, you're going to get people from both countries saying, but we have more powerful weapons than that. So why are you just sacrificing people's lives for posturing? And I mean, I suppose their answer could be, well, we don't want to start a nuclear war. But then to me, it's just like, well, what's the point in doing anything else? Like, I don't know what we do at that point.
I don't think they wanted to get to that point. This is all economics and geopolitics and trying to manipulate our populations into being a certain way. They want to make us fearful of the Chinese. Like how the Chinese, when they started the virus stuff and they were sending out videos and people dying in the streets, and it's just propaganda campaigns, they made I think they had an accident, and you're like a little kid. So what do? You just take your pants off because you're a kid and you don't know what to do. And then your mom walks like, why are you naked? And you're like, the dog took my pants. And why do you smell like pee? The dog peed on me, man. It wasn't me. Like that's just the kid stuff. This is literally what they're doing. And our government is doing the same thing, trying to play stupid.
Yeah.
It's like January 6th. We didn't know. We didn't think it was possible for the peasants to come into our buildings. You're like, no, man. Like you knew, you had info. You knew people were mad, and geez. And do you want to know something really crazy I found out last night? This might
What?
be a little off topic. I'm sorry.
No, so go for it.
Bro. Last night. I can say that I can't verify this because there is no media out there that can really trust. But Steve Bannon, you know who that is, obviously? War Room. He's got that stuff.
Yeah, but remember?
Oh, yeah. So he
Great book.
had a guy from the Election Integrity Foundation, whatever or so, and they got documentation and proof. They say, this is their words, I quote, the Secretary of State, which is like our kind of like one of our top officials, you know, at
Yeah,
the
we
government.
have the
They're not the
same
governor.
thing.
Okay, cool. So you might be understand. Knew November 3rd, the servers were hacked. They knew. No, I'm. This is what he says. He said,
Yeah.
we have documented proof that they knew the servers were hacked November 3rd, and they kept their mouth shut and they didn't say anything. In Maricopa County, where they're doing the audit right now, I think some stuff is about to be really crazy. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait. Like, I don't want to be a Q-tard, okay? I'm not a Q-tard. I don't believe in Q, none of that stuff. But I'm sitting there going,
I know.
if this is true, it's just another thing that they lie about. Everybody, why would you, if you're a Secretary of State, be like, whoa? Because she didn't want a person to be elected. They're politicians. They're not real. They don't care. They're like, no, I ain't saying nothing. Because but you know what? The Secretary of State is a MSNBC contributor. She gets paid to go on TV, and she didn't say anything.
So, so you were saying Secretary of State. Mm-hmm. Is this the Secretary of State that is now Secretary of State, or Donald Trump's Secretary of State?
As far as I understand, yes. No.
Okay.
So Secretary of State is, I believe, it's an elected position. I know District Attorney is. I want to say Secretary of State. They might be selected by their governor. I don't think the president has any say in that process. As far as I might be wrong. I don't want to I'm not knowledgeable.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Where did you hear Steve Bannon talking about that?
It was I can send you the video on Twitter later.
And I would. Can I just say, anybody that watches this, whenever, don't listen to the mainstream media about Steve Bannon. I did for about 6 months, and I thought he was like the most evil dude in the world. He must be.
He just loves America.
He is an absolute. He is seriously sharp.
And not to mention, he believes in taxing the big companies and forcing then like deregulating them, but also forcing them to be in the United States. Like there's talks that they want to get rid of dual citizenship. Like if you want to be an American, you'll be an American. That's it.
Right.
I kind of maybe agree with that. We need a nationalistic. I believe some form of nationalism can be good. We need loyalty. I don't believe you can be loyal to China and the United States at the same time. I don't think that's possible. I just don't think that's possible.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Very difficult.
There's no way you'll be killed if you're loyal to America. If you're in China.
It depends. Yeah, like if you're in a higher position, like if you work for the FBI, that would be very difficult, you know. But if you're just an average bloke that works in a shop, then
I don't know.
Knows? But I mean, like, yeah, he is nationalistic. I mean, my kind of opinions on nationalism are that you have to look after yourself first. You have to look after your family. You know, in real life, you have to look after your family first. If your family is in good shape, maybe you can go and help your neighbor. If your neighbors are in good shape, maybe you can go and help somebody else in the village. And I just think that, you know, if you're happy to let, you know, your house be a complete pigsty, but then go and help tidy up next door, like how I just don't see the logic in that. And I know it's not an exact equivalent. Mm-hmm. I think under a general rule, people should be trying to look after the whole of America in America, the whole of the UK in the UK.
From the bottom up.
Right.
Basically. And I agree with that. Steve Bannon and these guys, and this is the thing. I'm even still being embedded by the propaganda, and I still go, Steve Bannon. I like him. But I'm like, but this is the thing. That's good. I shouldn't trust Steve Bannon, and I shouldn't trust the mainstream media. I shouldn't trust Tim Pool. I need to be able to feel comfortable and verify. This is dumb. Only problem is that verification is difficult to do But there are just some clear truths. We knew something funky happened on election night, to me. I felt like something funky happened. I think everybody knows. 40% of Americans think that something funky happened, and that includes Democrats. 40%. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
That's not a small amount. So let's be realistic and say, because did you hear what Matt Gaetz said at Trump's rally in Sarasota, Florida the other day?
No, but after you've told me, what is it? I heard some funny stuff about Matt Gaetz.
Oh, see? Here we
But
go. The state is coming after him. And they're saying that he had sex with like a 16-year-old or something across state lines. There's no proof of that. No actual proof. These are all statements made by a guy. But that guy was getting charged for underage girl stuff. So this is the same thing they did to Julian Assange in a way. Hey, you're going to get in trouble for the pedo stuff. But if you say, because we know you used to work with him, if you say this, we'll cut you a deal and allow you to continue hurting children, which he did do. So I don't know. I take everything the government says at whatever. Like, I don't know. I will, when we do know, and there are facts and concrete evidence and not some like weird witch hunt that the media does to like Marjorie Taylor Greene and then Lauren Boebert and now Matt Gaetz, Josh Hawley, Tucker Carlson. There's always, because they're trying to find the new Trump. They're just trying to find the guy they can hate. That's my opinion. And the state's allowing that to happen. So Matt Gaetz said, and I did not know this. I learned a little piece of my government it's a huge piece, and I didn't know this. Matt Gaetz gets up there, and these are politicians, so they're all liars. You know, you can't trust most of them. And I don't even know if I trust Matt Gaetz. But he did say, he goes, what I'm going to do, and I make this promise to you, my fellow Americans, when we take back the House in 2022, I am going to nominate Donald J. Trump for Speaker of the House. You do not have to be in government to be nominated. You can be a civilian. How crazy is that? You can just be a guy. They could walk up like, Miss Daniel, you're going to be Speaker of the House.
Yeah, and that's cool.
Like, right? So, but now listen, cool. I have to explain something to you. So you know the line of secession in the United States, how it works?
I do.
Okay. So you know, president fails, vice president, then vice president fails, Speaker of the House. Ooh, this is getting spicy.
Ooh.
Because what this would do is it would prevent a constitutional crisis. Now, let's say the election stuff, things are found, things are investigated. We go through the full process.
Oh, Jesus. Does that mean Nancy Pelosi is going to be president?
No. This is why they're waiting.
Thank God for that.
This is why they're waiting till 2020, because they know they're going to win. Because all these election reforms, all the voting, like the voting restrictions, no, it takes the Democrats' power away. They're like, fuck, we went too hard in the paint, bro. We exposed ourselves. They did. They went so hard and they went delusional. They're like, they'll never be able to. They're dumb. They forgot how like awake people were. They really thought people weren't paying attention. So, you know, what they're going to do is they're going to do a real investigation, a real discovery, like actually do the process the way it should be done while they're all getting mocked. Everyone's going to say they're crazy. We've heard this before. It's propaganda. They can't be president anymore. They can't be president. It can't happen. If they find enough evidence, it's going to go what? You will be removed from office. Now the Speaker of the House will become the president. And if the Speaker of the House is the president, Donald Trump will come in and he can still rerun in 2028. 4, excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, geez, man. I don't even know what would happen. Because everyone's so divided. No, but I mean, like,
heal us. It would heal us.
No, yeah.
No, listen to me. Because these people in these states, California is always going to be mad. They're always mad. It doesn't matter. They're mad. New York, they're always going to be mad. Let them destroy their cities. People are leaving in droves because they're like, this is chaos. Like, we're out. And I hope those people don't vote the same way. But, dude, if there was a mandate and there was like a 45, 46 state landslide, if there really was something crazy, no one's going to be mad. The people that are mad now are going to stay mad. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're good.
That's true.
That's my opinion. You know.
I mean, I think it was quite telling. I think it was the day after or the week after either the results or the inauguration on January 20th. and we saw that, there was a massive Antifa protest, and they were holding up signs that were saying something along the lines of, we don't care who's in power.
Oh
We're
yeah, no,
still.
they're like F Joe Biden, F Nancy
Yeah, and I can
Pelosi.
listen. I can understand the point of view of whoever's in power is not going to help us. I mean, I disagree with them. I'm sorry, I just do. But like, the one part of their sort of thing that I understand is that they're not a fan of anybody that is at that level of power.
I
Although
think
they claim that.
I think what you said earlier was very honest and true when you said, worry about yourself, worry about your house, your home, your family, your neighbor, community, so on, so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's important. But this is the biggest thing. And this is why the UK, all of Europe screwed up with their gun laws.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to be afraid of the government when it should be the other way around. The government should fear its people.
Yeah.
They should be humbled. They should be not like, oh my God, no. You work for us. There's no disputing this. We elect you. There's a reason why we have like a recall process like that's going in California. But you know what? They're mutilating it. They're manipulating it to try to get Gavin Newsom to win again. It's disgusting. You got recalled, bro, because you suck.
Dude, that's going to be insane. Like, if Gavin Newsom gets recalled and then elected again, like, what the fuck?
No, because that state's done. I'm telling you, that state, they're going to be like, I'm out, dude. This is fucking crazy. You're manipulating. They literally would not tell people when the election was for like a month. They would not tell people because they're trying not to let candidates get the message out and to campaign properly. They're freaking monsters, dude. So I don't even know if the official date, I think it's in September sometime. If I remember, I've heard 14th, I've heard 7th, I've heard 18th. I don't know. Personally, I haven't looked into it that heavily, but dude, I'm telling you, these institutions are shaking. They're crumbling. They're like all trust. And guess what? January 6th was a coup, an intelligence operation, in my opinion. It's a coup. Because I think they were about to do something that had never been done in American history. I think they were about to reject something. I think they were about to reject some shit. And since Pence has no spine, and I'm telling, dude, it makes sense. And the CIA and the FBI, they all knew it. They were like, we know. They have their messages. They checked their emails. NSA is spying on them too. They knew exactly what they were listening to their phone calls. This is why we have such a problem. But they knew something was up. And they're like, all right, the Oath Keepers, we're not going to arrest anybody. Let them go. Hey, Capitol, Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, actually, we have a decreased security threat. Possibly, so don't worry about that. Call the National Guard off. Don't call it. No, yeah, call the mayor. This is not complicated. This is how people are. Like I don't think this is a conspiracy. I think it's like they tell the mayor, like, "Hey, dude, you're good. You're good. Don't worry about it."
There were a lot of people. Obviously, I know that they said now that there were at least 12 people that work for the government that were, that had. Weren't their way in. Yeah. They come in with the crowd. Sorry, but there was still a hell of a lot of people that were there anyway. So, I mean,
dude, you're telling me like what? At least 50,000 people were out there. I mean, it was wall to wall. I mean, you couldn't. Mm-hmm. It was just a sea of people. If all those people would have went in, that is an insurrection. I'm talking about a few hundred. Things got bad, whatever. But like, if they really wanted to, they could have all just walked in, but they didn't. And the thing is, this is what's weird about it. I'm kind of, I guess, we tried to make our voices heard, and they didn't like that. They didn't like that at all. That's a public building. That's our building. It's not their building, and I understand that sentiment. I'm not saying the people should have went in and interrupted the process. It's the process. We should respect some of the process.
That was a big mistake. That was a big mistake.
It was a political mistake for sure.
Yes. It was a tactical mistake.
Yes, and it could have really. I even questioned Trump and what he said. I was like, "Oh my God! Like this is all." It hurts as an American to watch something like that happen. But when you start and all the information starts trickling out and you start putting pieces together, and you're like, oh, this is really gross. This is something else.
Man. When that couple of journalists in air quotes, there was a young guy and a girl, maybe early 20s,
The African American gentleman.
Yeah, I think he was either mixed race African American and the white chick. And like, when they took the video of themselves laughing and giggling and saying, "We did it, I told you we'd do it," and then they were interviewed on CNN, and then it came out like a week or two later that CNN had paid them $75,000.
And he was the one him and Tyler Hansen were the ones who
were on the
filmed.
stairs.
Well, they filmed Ashley Babbitt.
Yeah,
they
were right
shot
next to her. And do you remember he was like egging them on? He was like, "What are you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?" And then it's like she gets killed, and they're laughing, and they're like, "Told you they'd do it."
And if they won't release the video, because
yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, if this was legit, this is what happened. Like this is if they say what happened, they would be releasing all the video. They're like, here's the evidence. Here's the evidence. Calm down. Here's the evidence. Here's the evidence. When the government goes, when it keeps its cards close to its chest, they're up to no good. Like, I'm sorry. Oh, well, it's an investigation. Well, I'm sorry. When you went in to Syria, you immediately had a report that said it was a chemical weapons attack. Like, immediately. Like, within, boom, you were like, here, WMDs in Iraq, boom. We're going to go on TV and tell our enemies. Yeah, like, what? If whatever the government, like, alien thing, to me, I'm sitting there, I'm like, what are you gonna tell me now? For what reason?
Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy, man.
Here's my hand, and then they got like a gun behind their back, and you're like, why? Why do you have a gun behind? I can see it. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's not a gun. It's a bouquet of flowers, and you're like, huh? I'm telling you, this is like, and this is the thing. Our governments have become so bold. I think all governments, especially in the Western world, have become so bold and think they can just push people around. And then you got someone like Iran, who I think is despicable as a government. They're despicable. Those people need to fight back themselves.
Yeah.
They need to fight back. They need to take their country back.
Yeah. It'd be interesting, actually. I don't really know that much about Iran. I'd be interested to know how many people would like to overthrow.
Bro, it's bad.
Because I know that in the 60s, because my mum was born and brought up in Iraq.
Right.
And I know that in the 60s, Iraq and Iran, it was like, we've got oil, we've got money, and they were very they were sort of westerning out. I'm not saying that that's what everybody should do, but they were enjoying, wearing western-y clothes. And
no, women were free. People could drive. It was all cool. But we kept going in there and not letting them just grow on their own. And we started wars. Charlie Wilson's war. We started shit with other countries.
Yeah.
We played a role in the demise. And then what happens? The religious caliphates, because they're so desperate for answers. It's like people who go to QAnon, people who go to Antifa. They're so desperate for just something that feels real. They will grab a hold of anything. And then anybody tries to question it, they crush them. Crush them. And then in Iran, like literally, like, dude, I'm gonna tell you something personal. I don't know about you. Have you ever like watched like Parliament, like hearings, like you're just watching it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in your country, you're watching the Parliament. They're yelling.
Yeah.
Actually, it's really fun to watch. It's way better than the Americans, because Americans are like 5 minutes speaking, and you're like, and over there they're like, it's so much fun.
Nuts.
I love it. It's very archaic. That's a monarchy for you. That's a monarchy.
Like, yeah. There's this huge. You know what? I should know what it's called. God, I don't know what it's called. But there's this massive like metal, like sort of rod thing that they use to kind of
like a gavel.
It's bigger than that. It's like a yard and a half long, and it's got a funny shape. They basically use it to kind of open and shut the Parliament. So they walk in holding it with two hands upright, and then they lay it down, and then they go when they're going. And anyway, there was a guy a few months ago, and they were arguing over something. And the guy, like the head of the Parliament, whose name Lindsay somebody or other, I know it's Lindsay, but he's a dude. And he told the guy, he was like, "Out, get out," because this guy wouldn't be quiet. I think it was a Scottish guy. And so the guy, the guy eventually left, and on his way out, he just grabbed this big metal rod and just ran off with it. So yeah, it is
That's
pretty cool
great.
to watch because they do struggle to keep their tempers under control. So, yeah.
So I think that's fun, but it's also a lot of pandering, political posturing. It's not real.
Absolutely.
What they do
100%.
behind scenes is completely different, right? And we have the same
100%.
thing. But sometimes, you know, you get glimpses of humanity and glimpses of like people really talking, like, and really having moments. Like it can happen even in government. Rand Paul's. I was a Ron Paul supporter. I actually met him. I met Ron
Yeah.
Paul. Yeah, me and my father, my little brother Ryan. He's on
Yeah.
Zoobox. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I met him. Went to one of his rallies in the James Brown Arena, the wife beater stadium. And yeah, you just take your wife. It's the only legal place in America where you can take your wife and beat her is in the James Brown Arena. That's a joke.
Jesus.
Just saying. That's a joke, but he used
Okay.
to beat the crap out of his women.
I thought there was some sport that like you could beat
You
your
know what?
wife
Funny
for, like.
story. One of my best friends arrested James Brown. We can talk about that later.
Wow.
But I was watching Rand Paul. So we do a lot of charity in the United States. It's called foreign aid. We do. We do give a lot. You know, we just give money away. We really do. And he goes, Rand Paul proposed an amendment. And he's like, I propose this amendment that we will not give foreign aid to countries that have blasphemy laws, interreligious banning marriage laws, and, you know, whatever, like these laws, like very simple humanity. People should love who they want to love. You should be able to question religion or government. You should be able to, just very simple thing. Just question. And, you know, you're going around the fucking room and these guys are like, I do not support it because of it's just not right for this bill. It's you know, that foreign aid and you're just like, I literally wept a little bit, like a tear from. I was like, these people are fucking monsters.
Yeah.
Like you're like, how? This is the simplest thing. We should not give money to countries that kill their people because of who they love. We shouldn't kill gays. You shouldn't throw them off buildings. The thing is, that is like not giving them money for that. It should be a really honorable thing. And as a government, we should not be giving money to institutions that murder people. You know, like trade has to happen. I get that, but just freely giving up money?
Yeah.
Come on.
Dude,
Like,
do you know what's terrifying? Like now, I would say over the last 3 or 4 months, you know, the critical, what is it, queer studies or whatever, has become way more, I don't know, terrifying, especially in terms of kids and school and curriculums. Do you remember like 2 or 3 months ago when they were talking about foreign aid and they were like, oh, and we've also got $10 million that we're going to give to Pakistan for gender studies?
yep.
And people laughed and they were like, oh, that's not for gender studies. It's obviously to pay off some corrupt. Dude, I'm starting to think maybe it is for freaking gender studies because these people are that insane. But like, I wouldn't put it past them to give them $10 million for gender
Well,
studies.
that's what they would say. That's what they're hoping it's going to be used for. They can't really trust the government to actually.
Absolutely, but I wouldn't put it past them to want that done.
And what does the Pakistan government consider gender studies? Men are men, women are women. That could be their gender studies.
Job done.
And yeah, you know,
thanks for the 10 mil.
Yeah, high five, bro. High five. It's like instead of, you know how like in America, I know the UK is the same way. Like they give me a speeding ticket if I'm speeding. And for what America does is they do two things: they give you money or they kill you. Those are your two options. Like that's it. Like they give you money or they kill you.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like think about this: we're not attacking Russia or China. We're attacking third world nations that have no power, no support. And we can just walk in and we just kick in their door and we're like, you're going to have a democracy now, you scum. You damn savages. And you're like, who the fuck am I? You know, as an American, listen, dude, when I was in the military, I've always, because of my father, I've always questioned and all government and like, you know, our policies and like things we've done. I've always been that way. But I didn't realize how even just being in that system, you're like, naturally you're just like, well, I got to support it a little bit because I'm in it and I have friends going overseas. And that's why I think coming full circle to, it's not about it's we got to stop. Like Vietnam was a really good example. You can't blame a guy who gets drafted and then like he goes over there and does some awful things. Because like what they found out is through the draft process, except like World War II was somewhat similar, but if you are voluntary force is a more lethal force, because during the draft they realized that people weren't actually trying to kill people.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that study.
Yeah, they were just like shooting
like 1 in 100. Whatever.
Yeah, they were barely, because that's what another reason why the war took so long. They were like, I just want to get out of this, bro. Yeah. No, and a lot of people came disillusioned with the government, and they started militia groups back after they came back, and they said, fuck that, like, we're done. I'm not playing your games anymore. We're going to create our own thing. And you know what they do? They create the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And you know what they do? They go to Ruby Ridge, and they kill a guy for sawing 4 inches off a shotgun, and his son and his wife. And then Waco, Texas. Like, dude, we need to, I know I'm kind of leaning more towards anarchy, but we need to rein these motherfuckers in. And I mean, I can't speak for the UK, but if I was in the UK, I would be terrified of my government. I would be like so fucking freaked out personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because people are probably more, I don't know what the word is. In the UK, they kind of resent their government, I think, even more than Americans do, and they probably have even less respect for the government. And I also don't think they're scared of their government, but they kind of should be on one level, because they can do whatever they want.
Like, what's stopping the government from just like, we're taking your home?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, think about how that base was built there. You don't think people own that land? You don't think people built stuff there? And this is the thing is, in America, this is a crazy story. Can we keep this at about an hour? Is that all right?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that fine? Okay. Yeah. Sorry guys, bonus episode. We're kind of riffing. Have you ever heard of the Bundy family?
Americans. Ted Bundy.
No, yeah, well, not that same guy. So the Bundy family was a group of ranchers in Texas, I believe. Listen, some of these details, maybe we can talk more about this tomorrow. I can do some research and it's an amazing story of American, just badassness. They did two things that are going to blow your fucking mind. The BLM, Bureau of Land Management, not Black Lives Matter, Bureau of Land Management, because we gotta control the land too, because whatever. The Bureau of Land Management said, we're taking your land and we're going to tax you for your land that you own because you have cattle and it's grazing on it. Do you know what they did?
Why?
Yeah, exactly. Because they're freaking greedy government. They're greedy people. They want more power. They want to encroach. The Bundy family, with like 200 ranchers, rode up to meet the FBI on horseback with AR-15s, rifles, shotguns, and drove them off the land. They went to federal court. And they were found in it. They were charged with, I can't remember what the crime was. They got arrested, the whole nine. They had to go, got on bail. And the government lost. And they won.
Really?
Yes, they won. They won the case. And government had to pay them restitution for arresting them, for infringing on their rights, all this stuff. Second.
So real quick, what level was the court that they won at? So was that state or federal?
It was federal court. I do not believe it could have went to the, like I said, I'm a little foggy on it.
Yeah.
Second thing they did. This is crazy. Dude, you think what they did before was crazy? This is like, and they won. Oh my God. So what they did, them and a militia went and took over a federal facility that is like a park ranger station that was empty. Like, it's technically the government's, but we own the government. We're the people. They took it over and they said, it's ours. Fuck off. They said that to the feds. And I'm talking, they had entry control points. They had snipers. They had like the whole thing. Yeah. And they could be viewed as terrorists, right? So what they did, and this is what the government did. Long story short, there was like a big standoff. There's crazy stuff going on, and no one. I believe only one man died, and it was the Bundy's father, like the grandfather, the older one, the oldest Bundy guy. Because what they did, they left the compound, and the FBI chased them. Right, high speed chase, and the guy gets out of the car and shoots at the FBI, and he gets killed. Now I have a question for you. I'm going to tell you right now, they won this court case too. This went to the federal courts and they won because it is ours. People just don't fight for it anymore.
Yeah.
People need to stop. And this is the thing. Are they terrorists because they go up there armed and they just sit at a park ranger building? Are they really that bad of guys? No. They're sitting up there at that stuff they pay for and they own it and they have the right to be there. And no federal. And the same thing, if you own property, this is why the Second Amendment, this is how powerful it is. This is why they're trying to restrict it. You can have 40 dudes take on the federal government and win. Like, that's what the Second Amendment allows.
But you don't have F-15s, man.
Yeah, you don't got. You're gonna need the nukes to take us. You know what, Joe Biden? Let me tell you something. If you nuke us, you're killing a lot more people. Like, you're gonna do your thing. Like, this is the thing, though. It's all political posturing. They know this is why they're trying to politically take away our guns without force, because it's easier. It's just easy. Yeah. It's just what they did in the UK. A mass shooting happens, and now everybody's mad, and they get look at the parents, the children, the dead bodies. They're here. Yeah. Look. And you're like, oh my God. And it hurts because you have a son or a niece or a nephew or whoever, and you're like, oh man, I should give up my guns. But what they don't tell you is they're the only ones who are going to have it. And then the bad guys, the gangs, the violent people are the only ones who are going to have it. So you're just left with your ass out in the wind, both directions.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I can always understand people's point of view, like with Sandy Hook. Like, I 100% understand, how horrendous that sort of situation is. But, you can't like cherry pick one terrible event here, like one terrible event there, and be like, and so that's why we're just going to take everything away from everyone.
And you can't go to war with Iraq because of a suspicion, right. And you can't go to war with Iraq because Saudi Arabians attacked us. You're like, we are too smart for this. We're too smart as people, but we let our emotions and our fears take over us. And the thing is this, and this is what we were talking about, like yesterday, freedom is painful. And I'm going to tell you right now, the Bundy family went through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering for their freedoms. And I bet they are happy that they did it. Because when you stand up, this is why I don't think we need the federal government anymore, personally. I think it's a wash. We don't need them. We have the Constitution. It's there. That's our guiding document. And they pervert it and they ruin it. And state governments do too. But the thing is, we all have a role and responsibility from our communities up. But when they tell me I can't carry a gun in public, why? I'm not a bad guy. I'm not going to do anything wrong. Like, I'm not a threat because you assume me to be. There has to be reasonable cause to say I'm a threat. And our police have been manipulated and brutalized from actually trying to protect the community. Like, these guys should be protecting us from the federal government. They work in conjunction with them. They've co-opted our state power. It's wild. I don't know, man. I'm hopeful though, because people like the Bundys, and they really made a stand, and they won. And that's what I'm saying. It's written, dude. It is written. Any law, I can read it to you right now. This is a Supreme Court decision. I don't know why people don't talk about this enough. Very quickly. There it is, right here. Law of the land. This is technically true. So the general misconception is that any statute passed by legislators bearing the appearance of law constitutes the law of the land. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any statute to be valid must be in agreement. It is impossible for a law which violates the Constitution to be valid. That is succinctly stated as follows. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. Marbury versus Madison, 5th U.S. Supreme Court, 2 Cranch, and then a bunch of numbers because I'm not going to go on to it. But these decisions have been fought. This is in 1805.
Wow.
1805. So like we're talking, these things have been argued about and fought over. And what they do is
Sounds
they
like-
cover up our
like
history.
50 years before the Civil War, even.
But this is
A
what
long
this is
time
what
ago.
the authoritarianism that we see today in the United States came from Abraham Lincoln. Now, was it a good thing that he did? Yes. But he arrested journalists, arrested senators for sedition charges weren't created to them.
Imprisoned journalists as well.
Yeah, he did everything. He shut down the press. He did whatever he had to do. He sent Sherman and didn't tell him to burn down cities along his way. My ass. Yes, he did. Yes, they were like, go do whatever you got to do to disrupt their supply chains, burn the cities down so that when they get into that next town, they're going to be hungry and they aren't going to have anything to resupply them. This is basic logistical warfare. This is what you do.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of civil wars, I've heard some people say that America's on the edge of a civil conflict.
Mr. Timothy Poole. Yes. Is anything possible? Yes. I don't see it happening that way. Personally, I would say you're going to have pockets of violence. We're already having it. Pockets of violence.
Yeah.
It's already here in a way. But what you're going to see is mass noncompliance. I think we're heading that way. And then the federal government is going to come in and try to push states around. They're already trying. They're already dude, we're here. Like we're in it. The Civil War wasn't the Civil War until like a year in, like it was too late and you were already, it's the Civil War, I guess. Yep. We're here. Okay. We had,
burn.
it's always going to be that way. But what I do think will save us is the mothers. As Steve Bannon would say, the mothers will save us. The mothers are the ones who really got the Civil War to end too.
Yeah.
They start wars and they end them. I don't think it will go full scale conflict because the other side, they only have institutional power, which is very powerful. But we have human power and the human resources, millions of gun owners, 60 million, 70, 80 million, 100 million gun owners. More guns have been sold than ever. Like, dude, these people aren't going to give them up freely. It would be a bloodbath. It would be insane. They would have to use nuclear weapons.
The interesting thing is, obviously how many fewer mothers there are in our generation.
That's part of the psyop, bro.
Yeah, than there used to be. Like it's so common now for people to be mid-30s and still not married or, still not have any children.
Dude, women got screwed. Feminism screwed women up. It screwed them. They're like, not on all levels, obviously, but I'm saying like, you're they're part of the machine now. They used to be able to be at home, raise kids and love them and nurture and like instinctual things, I'm not saying my grandmother said something to me. She's old and she is a Democrat. She loves Joe Biden.
Really?
Well, she's old as fuck. She's an old California Democrat, She ran for city council. She doesn't know what the fuck's going on. She watched MSNBC. I don't blame her. That's what she knows. I did show her Hunter Biden's basically a pedophile, though, and she was like, I didn't know about this. I'm like, yeah, this was on the news. Yeah, they hid this from you. Yep.
Do you talk to her about a lot of things to do with Biden's?
Not only when only once in a while. We don't talk super often. When we do, we talk a little bit. She's very old. She's like in her 80s. Yeah. She's kind of not, cognitive all the time. But what was my point? Shit. Can you remember what I was talking about? Because I forgot.
What we're talking about? Civil War, conflict, not mass unrest. You were saying something about that. And then we moved on to.
Yeah. Here we go. I'm sorry. The full circle to point. She told me this. She goes, a women can do anything they want. They just can't do it all at the same time. And you're like, fair enough. I mean, that's truth. That's true knowledge gained from an elder. Like, you can have kids and then they grow, and then when they're old enough, they're going to school. You can have a career.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are undeniable biological facts, and one of those is that men cannot have children. I know that would make me very unpopular in a lot of circles nowadays, but it's a fact. And women, luckily, in my opinion, for them as well, can have children, and it's a beautiful thing. And I get it that some of them will say, it's not fair. I'm going to have to wait until I find a man, and then I'm going to have to wait another 10 years or 7 or 8 years until I can realistically get back in the work field, in the workplace. And then, I'm going to be 10, 15 years behind the men. Like, first of all, I don't think that's true. Like, I think there are ways around it. And second of all, like, they don't all have to do that. And also, it's an amazing thing. Like, I feel like we've just taken it for granted for so long. And, it's an amazing thing. And
Well,
I don't think they think of it like that.
Generally, women that have more sexual partners have a way higher suicide rate. Like, massive difference.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and men too. Men who have higher, they usually do. Men are more not as high, but women value partnership so much. Like that's really, really true, I think, and personally from my experience. In the women who are 55, no kids, they had their career, what do you have left? What do you have left? And like, okay, but if you have kids and now you're 65, 75, and your career's just wrapping up and you had a good career, you'd probably be pretty happy. Mm-hmm. It's just like we sold them the lie that we created a machine of like, oh, we're only getting half of the people in this country. So we need the other half to be a part of the machine.
Yeah.
So we sold them a lie because one income used to work. It used to be easy.
Yeah.
Now all these women who entered the workplace, sexual assaults went up, blah, 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 like these things, violence, and now they're emasculating men. Our education system is tailored specifically towards women for them to 100%. Succeed. Like there's a reason why I think it's like a 7 out of 10 people in college are women. It's like, it's a lot. So it's been specifically tailored. And I'm just going to tell you guys right now, not saying men haven't done terrible things. That is true. But women, when the femininity enters government, they're very manipulative and they're very wary. Like governments in nature are very feminine in my mind. Like, because they're very like insidious, manipulative little
bitchy.
Yeah. Yeah. They're cunts. But you know what? I love women. But like I realized something like, for me personally. I
think women would admit what we've said though. Like I think women would 100% admit that the type of women that go into government.
If you're logical.
Yeah. Honestly, I think a lot of women would admit that women can be very manipulative if they want to be.
No, they have to be. It's evolution. We're violent. Me and you, the thing that keeps us from like going over the edge if we were in person, right? Just because we're men, is like every guy you meet, you think about it. You're like, if I had to fight this fucking dude, like if I have to, like there's a threat of physical violence. This is how men are. That's how I am. That's how most of the people I grew up with are, at least in America. I'm like, like, hey, dude, I'm sizing you up a little bit, feeling you out. I don't know you. We're kind of like lions, like just kind of walking around. We're like gorillas checking each other. Women are like
when you're younger.
It's all the time anymore. For me, dude. Well, maybe it's because like you don't have to. You have your pride land. You have your property. You have your home. You have a wife. You're secure. Me,
maybe.
I'm still on the prowl. Yeah. So everyone's all the men are like, hey, dude, what the fuck is your problem, dude? That fucking. Yeah. Have you ever been fisted before? I'll work you like a puppet. Just. I definitely felt like, so with women and stuff, especially, there's a lot of still tug and pull. But women, they've evolved to be manipulative because they can't be violent. They're weaker. They're not as athletic or strong. Not all, obviously. There's always outliers. And they're just built differently. So let's be real. I know what women want, and they want to control me. Part of it. That's part of but the game is you can't let them control you all the time. It's like it's a game, dude. We are so fucking simple. We just complicate it. It's like, man, sometimes you just gotta tell a bitch, I don't fucking want to do that shit. Yeah, it's like,
good luck with that,
dude. We are This is a great episode. I had to say, like, I love that we just randomly did it. It's fun. We're going to be doing another one tomorrow. So we got to figure that out, actually. So we should probably wrap things up.
Yeah.
My final words is fuck the government. This is me.
And my final words are still go and talk to someone that you wouldn't normally talk to. Talk to a neighbor, talk to a sibling that you haven't spoken to for a while.
Absolutely.
Ask them how they think the world is at the moment and just get a conversation going.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us on this bonus episode. I don't know if you're going to be considered to be lucky or a nuisance, but either way, we don't fucking
Tune
care.
in tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow, or if it doesn't take 18 hours to upload.
Yeah. Maybe
we'll
in a
figure
week.
it out within a week. In a week. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll be talking to you guys later. Have a good one.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish.